Hey guys, I'm Azra, and in this video I'm going to show you my tier list in regards to evil side damage dealing commanders for 2.0. I have excluded all the troop boosting commanders since there is just no place for them in a competitive environment in PvP. Like you see, I also stated don't use for PvP in this category. We do have a siege tier like for Gothmog. That is something we already know from 1.0. So yeah, no troop boosting commanders included in here. There is an exception like Azru-Khor. That guy is special, but you get the gist of it, right? So this is my tier list, and I will start without the troop boosting commanders. I also included little infos on the portraits of the commanders just to quickly summarize why I hold them in that special regard. And with that out of the way, let's get started. If I have these commanders at least respect level 5, I think they are something like this. So Adunae, she's dealing around 5,600 percentage focus damage. It's elemental damage to be more specific, focus and poison. And she has an interesting relic which is boosting her damage a bit while also increasing the damage mitigation. So it's kind of nice, and I would assume that she is here in B tier. Next one is Agzok. This commander, while being not one of the best in 1.0 in regards to T1, he now is at least at A tier because of the sheer amount of physical damage he deals. We are talking about 6,490% physical damage, so he is kind of strong, but that's also it. Like, he has no utility, whatever, it's just sheer damage output. Next up is Azru-Khor. Now, this guy is now one of the few commanders who can still do something with burn damage. He may rely on his troops to do that damage, but when he does, it's actually okay. It's even a bit better than Adunae's damage, if you ask me. The dual blows is also nice in boosting that damage output. Next up is Cestaro, everyone's favorite. Now, who wouldn't like a Cestaro? I think it goes without saying that he deserves a place in the S tier. Why are we saying this? Because 7,000 percentage focus damage, that is just a lot. On top of it, he has an amazing relic, one of the few relics that is actually worth investing into. So definitely go with Cestaro. He's just dealing consistent damage. Khaldoon, oh boy, does this guy have fallen from God's grace. He was once among the S tier commanders in 1.0, but nowadays with Frenzy Gun, Hunt Down, the double debuffing mechanic, it's just sad. This guy has dropped all the way down to C tier. Maybe this was intended from NetEase from the get-go, but they didn't kind of count on Hunt Down and how it works together with Frenzy. But now they have fixed that mistake, if that was intended, from S tier all the way down to C tier. He's just dealing 3,000 percentage physical damage, and unfortunately he lacks a lot in utility, so he deserves that C place. Next up is Khamûl. Now, I have noted that this guy is dealing 5k-ish focus damage, but he is doing that with 2 trees maxed out, like his top R0 and R3 skills maxed out is already providing lots of elemental damage, which is making him stronger than these two commanders and even stronger than Adunae. The number I have written here at Adunae is only achievable if you can max out 3 of his skills which deal elemental damage. So this is giving Khamûl more damage potential, and being only at respect level 5, you have more damage value from him than compared to Azru-Khor and Adunae. Now let's move over to Lathar, and I kinda like this guy. For the time being, we can place him in front of Khaldoon. Now let's talk why. First of all, he does a bit more physical damage than Khaldoon, like 600% more, but on top of that he has a damage buff which is very interesting. I think it was his respect 5 skill, his title, where he is increasing the damage of 2 formations by 35% every other round. Now, I know there is an RNG element built into this, because you may not always be lucky giving that damage boost to your biggest physical hitter. Let's assume you have a Dyne in your army, or how about Lurtz or Shadow? That would be exactly what you want to achieve. You want to give that buff to your strongest hitting commander. Well, it is RNG, but if it procs in your favor, that is making Lathar a good sidekick, which is why I think he is better than Khaldoon. Now we have Lurtz. Oh boy, this guy is one of the best commanders for evil side. He is so good. I would like to place him into S tier, but that place is already reserved for the really good commanders, so we have to give him at least A tier tier, he has one of the highest physical damage on evil side. It's 5200 percentage. He has utility like damage buff. If you have leftover points after you have maxed out 2 skills, he just gets stronger with those buffs. In addition to that, he has a relic that goes hand in hand what he does, dealing damage. Let's continue with Oglurg. Well, this commander deals around 2100 percentage physical damage. That is making him kinda weaker than like these damage dealing commanders, but he has a bleeding mechanic that is activated every 4 rounds. What I don't like about that is 4 rounds. That means the battle is almost halfway through. Like we can't wait 4 rounds to get some value from his bleeding effect. Then we have Saruman. Oh boy, I think some people, or not just some, but a lot of people are sleeping on him. When I checked his skill set, this guy has a lot to offer. For the time being, I'm going to place him here at the very top in the A tier. Now, why am I doing this? First of all, he does a lot of focus damage, 6k-ish focus damage. He has Madness as a utility. He has damage mitigation if you have any spare points after maxing out 2 of his damage dealing skills. He has Commander Madness immunity when you can max out that 3rd skill. It's the bottom R0 skill. And then he has one of the few awesome relics in the game. Definitely worth investing into. This makes Saruman so great. And I'm also tempted to give this guy an S tier, but since I haven't seen a lot from him yet, I'm still waiting. I think he may have potential for S tier. I need to see more, but at least he is at the top of the A tier chain. So let's continue with Sauron. And oh boy, Sauron is so strong. Let's just place this guy at the very top in the S tier. He is just mandatory. You have to have Sauron if you want a PvP. Why? It is not about the sheer focus damage he deals. He actually isn't dealing a lot of focus damage. It's around 2k 700 percentage focus damage. That is not a lot compared to like these damage dealers here. But he has something that is redeeming him. Mainly his CC. He does it with providing madness, and he has a special madness. He can throw his madness before a battle begins and makes the enemy commander, well, there is a chance to making the enemy commander go mad, and then you just steal the buffs that commander can provide. Let's say Gandalf the White or Gandalf the Grey with White Council. All of a sudden, you can proc that buff for yourself. And I think it goes without saying, if you proc madness and that madness procs, you deny the enemy damage. And that means you don't receive any damage. That is great. Also, you have stun. Stun is always great. If you stun, you don't get damaged, you survive longer, and on top of that, he has debuffs. Debuffs that increase the damage they take from all of your formation. And also, you decrease their damage output by decreasing their stats, like focus or attack. That's just great. Sauron is, because of those reasons, just mandatory to have. Next up is the Shadow. This guy is great. I gotta, right from the get-go, place him here into the A tier. He's a great commander. He is front-loading his damage with his dual blows, and if you have maxed out his top R0 with his R5, you're doing great. The more respect you have, the more you would invest into his R3. That is a buff. Whenever he attacks, he gets stronger. And yeah, there is stronger still. The Shadow is great. Let's just place him here. His relic isn't that great like Lurtz's relic, and also Lurtz has a great buff with his respect 3 skill. He gets stronger the more the arrows are targeting another target. So that is something special for Lurtz. Then we have Skalhelm. Oh boy, Skalhelm is so great. She too deserves a place in S tier. She does it with nothing but her sheer elemental damage. There is no commander for evil side that does this amount of elemental damage. We are talking about 8300% elemental damage with poison, with focus. It's just great. But that also means she's lacking utility, which isn't a problem. The amount of damage is redeeming her. Let's move over to, oh yeah, I have forgotten the name of this commander, but what was it, like Ugthak? Yeah, something like that. That commander is kind of forgettable. There is a reason for it. He does deal 4k burn damage, and that, like, in theory makes him better than Khaldoon, but unfortunately that's it. He has no utility whatsoever, which is also why I assume that Lathar is better. Even though Lathar is dealing physical damage, he has that damage buff, that utility, which I think makes him a bit more viable than Ugthak. Now let's move over to the Undying. Oh boy, my Undying. I kinda wanna place him either into at the end of the A tier or at the start of the B tier. That is really up to you, what you think about this guy. But I think let's place him over here. He is dealing nothing but physical damage. He provides evade. He also provides burst healing, but right now healing is broken in a negative way. So you don't really get any value out of that. How I like to play him, or the majority of player base, is going with damage and evade. So unfortunately he isn't dealing more damage than Agzok, and they are both tanky commanders. He is performing, as you see, not that great as Agzok, so I have to place him over here. Agzok is just a better damage dealer. And then last but not least, it's time for the Witch King. Alright, so listen guys, the Witch King is still a very great commander, an outstanding commander, and I even like the Witch King more than Cestaro. Now hear me out, why am I assuming that this commander deserves a place in the S tier? Similar to Sauron, he isn't dealing lots of focused damage, but still it is something. He, on top of it, is the king of stun. There is no other commander like the Witch King who provides so much stun. He is the king of stun. On top of that, he has a debuff with his respect 5, which is weakening the enemy commanders. That is great. He goes hand in hand with Sauron. Like, I think Witch King and Sauron, they need to be played in a tandem, because the Witch King with his debuffs is taking away the initiative from enemy commanders, which then again gives Sauron a chance to be faster with his madness in order to like counter important mechanics such as stealing White Council. So because of these three values, like providing mediocre focus damage, being the king of stun, shutting down damage generally with that stun, and the debuffs that goes hand in hand with Sauron, I have placed him into S tier. And there you go guys, this is my tier list for Evil Side. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Like, if you have placed your commanders in a different way, let me know. Like, we can talk about it. I'm still trying to catch up with the 2.0 environment, and the more knowledge you share in the comments, the better for the community. But before I let you guys go, I have to mention one more thing, which is like the new discount link I have received from NetEase. It is in each of my videos right now. Whenever you click on it, you get a discount of around 25% whenever you buy gems. So please feel free to use that link. That way we all benefit from it. You get a discount, I get some, like a small cut of the win from NetEase, and it's a win-win situation for everyone. You are supporting my channel with this while receiving a discount. We all win. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like, consider subscribing, and share the video. It is helping a lot against the YouTube algorithm. I see you guys next time.